It's blowing my mind how I think by now 1.6 million people have seen the pregnancy announcement video. And even more than that, it is so overwhelming in an incredibly positive and beautiful way to just see so many messages filled with love and good wishes to us and to our little baby. This baby is so loved and is not even born yet, and I cannot even begin to explain how grateful I am for all of your lovely messages and all of your love and support. It's been very overwhelming in a beautiful way. So thank you so much for that. I thought before we get into all of the regular vlogs again and more day-to-day pregnancy stuff, I thought I would sit down and recap everything that we sort of have thought of / experienced up until now. And in that regard, I've asked you on Instagram for questions, and oh boy, you sent a lot of questions, so sit down and grab yourself a tea or coffee or something to munch on, because it's probably gonna be a while. I am 14 weeks and 4 days pregnant right now. We just had a scan 2 days ago. Everything looks great. Baby is measuring to be a full week ahead of schedule, size-wise, so we have a little big person, which is not a surprise since both Jake and I are ginormous people, so. My poor vagina. First question is it a boy or a girl? And actually, Jake and I don't know yet, even though our doctor knows. She found out 2 days ago at the scan, and it was so hard not to look at that paper she gave us with the little note that says what gender it is, because we absolutely do want to find out. We're finding out on Saturday, which is almost a week from now. So yeah, by this time next week, we should know what it is. And then a couple of weeks later, I'll post a video for you guys. But we're having a gender reveal party for our friends. My best friend Stephanie got the letter, so she's currently the only one outside of my doctor who knows what gender our baby is. And I'm so excited. Jake thinks it's a girl. I think it's a boy. Let's see. This is actually such an interesting question because it's something that I thought about so much for many years before getting pregnant, and it is, how does it feel to have a human inside of you? I don't know. Like, it's mentally very different from physically, because I don't feel that there's anything inside of me currently. I just feel my body working in like kind of weird ways. What I can feel now is not the baby. I'm pretty sure you can first start to feel the baby maybe a couple of weeks from now, and it's supposed to feel like little bubbles of air sort of like passing through. So that's how it's supposed to feel before you can start to feel actual pushes and such. But right now, and you can probably see that by how I'm like continuously taking deep breaths, I feel extremely like, I don't know, in a lack of space in my stomach. I feel full all the time, even when I'm hungry. Like, I feel stuffed up. It just feels really like everything is pushed together. Yeah. How did you switch up your regular gym routine after getting pregnant? So, for the first couple of weeks after finding out, before I got sick, I continued as I did before, but just like putting down the weight a tiny bit. The general recommendations for pregnancy is that you should continue, if you can, as you did before, without exerting yourself. So it should be moderate exercise, and the rule with that is that if you can have a conversation somewhat while doing your exercise things, then it's moderate. So you shouldn't push yourself further than that. However, I did stop running just because I love like interval running and pushing myself in that sense. I hate like the static long distance thing, so I just switched that out with walking on inclination. But that was the first couple of weeks. Then I got sick, and then I barely did anything. I think I was in the gym on average maybe once a week. And then I would just sit on machines and really have like quite a low weight because I didn't want to start feeling nauseous, just to keep my muscle mass there. The reason why I feel comfortable in a gym, even in early pregnancy, is because I was active and is because I was lifting heavy weights beforehand. So if you didn't, obviously don't start to lift heavy. And it's also very important to have your posture right, because a lot of things can go wrong. And you know, people say don't lift heavy and such. I have basically just taken the approach of listening to my mind and my body, and I still lifted heavy all throughout my pregnancy. Now that I'm in second trimester, I have no nausea, and I have lots more energy. I've actually downloaded and purchased the Body and Bump 24-week exercise plan from Sarah's Day. I've been a huge fan of her on YouTube for like many years, even before she had any kids herself, and she's pregnant with her 3rd child now, and I decided to download it and buy it, download it, and I had the first exercise today, and that was a very different exercise from what I'm used to. It's more like body weight and like down on your mat, and I really liked it. Yeah, so I'm very excited to keep going with that. This is a little bit in the similar line of questions. It says, what are some special advice for pregnant women that you've only heard of in Korea? And honestly, since becoming pregnant, I have experienced the biggest culture shocks that I have ever had, even after coming to Korea for the first time. Like, Korean birth culture and pregnancy culture is so vastly different from what I'm used to back in Denmark, back in Europe. Someone even asked me like, oh, how is this like Korean natural approach? I'm like, Korea has no natural approach to pregnancy. It's like, it is the most unnatural approach to pregnancy that I have ever come across, to be honest. But in line of like exercise, for example, my doctor is like she told me to do nothing, which wasn't specific advice to me. Like, I have a healthy pregnancy, low risk, like nothing wrong there, but that's just what they tell you. They give you this paper and then it says, oh, in the 1st trimester you just do a little bit of stretches here and there. In 2nd trimester you can start to swim. In the 3rd trimester you do stretches again. Like, that's it. I don't know, like the science right now is just so developed on that point where there are so many proven benefits of staying active and working on your muscles and all of these things in pregnancy, both in relation to you and your baby's health, but then certainly also to postpartum healing and such. So I am definitely disregarding a lot of the advice and cultural advice that I get here in Korea and just going with my own sort of intuition and culture. Yeah. How many children do you want in your life? I think Jake and I were pretty set on like having 2 or 3 kids. We're thinking of like a 2-year age gap approximately, but you never know. Did you have any mood swings? I have not had any mood swings. I feel like hormonally I don't really feel a difference from before pregnancy, which I'm very happy about. Like, I guess I'm more sentimental, but like that makes sense. Like, our life's about to change. Are you interested in buying maternity clothes or just your usual style but pregnant? Okay, so I've actually thought a lot about this and I've come to the conclusion that I think that maternity clothes is so hideous. Like, I can't find anything pretty, and even like I go on TikTok and I search like actually stylish maternity clothes, and then it's these brands that are like, we thought that maternity clothes was so ugly so we made our own brand, and then here it is, and then I look at it, I'm like, it's still ugly. Like, I don't know what to tell you, it's just not pretty. I don't know. So far, like, I have been just focusing on buying things that can grow with me, but then also shrink with me after pregnancy again. Like, for example, the pants that I'm wearing right now, they're like elastic. They're super stretchy and they can sit under the bump when the bump gets big, and then yeah, I just cinch it in to match, you know? Plus, I'm not really a jeans person to begin with, so I don't really feel the need to go out and buy maternity jeans. But one thing though that I'm so happy about is the fact that Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber has announced their pregnancy, because Hailey Bieber is like one of my biggest style icons. I think she's so classy and, I don't know, great. So I'm very excited for the pregnancy outfit inspiration from her. Have you decided what baby will call each of you? Yes, we have. Because we will be speaking different languages here at home, we will be called our role to the baby in each of those languages. So our kid will call me, moi. Okay, maybe I am a little bit hormonal. Which every time I think about that, I'm like, I get so touched. So yeah, I will be mor, M-O-R, means mom in Danish. And Jake will be appa, which is dad in Korean. So yeah, also in the future on the channel, when we do give birth and everything, you are going to hear a lot more different languages. So far, like, I only speak English with you guys, and Jake only speaks English with you guys too. But I'm gonna have to start spending a lot more time on subtitles for you guys. Actually, being on that topic, someone did ask about what languages we would speak. What languages should your child speak? Danish, Korean, English? And yes, you're completely right. They will speak all 3 languages. No pressure. I'm sorry to our kid. But you've probably seen Alex Olsen YouTube channel. Her and her sister Emily are half Korean, half Danish, and they're fluent in Danish, fluent in Korean, fluent in English, so it is certainly possible. So it's not like, I don't think I'm asking something crazy for our child. I think it's just a benefit, but I will speak I'll speak exclusively Danish with our child. Jake will speak exclusively Korean, and then together in the household we'll speak English. So one thing, however, that I will put a lot of emphasis on is that it's not just us who will speak the language. Whenever the child is speaking with us, we will require the child to respond back in the language they're being spoken to. Okay, so a trying to conceive question. Did you change your routine / vitamins to help with your trying to conceive journey? Yes, I did. So you've seen that I've both gone to the Korean Oriental Hospital, and then I also went and got a prenatal checkup at my doctor's, which is, they just draw your blood, they check everywhere, check your uterus, all of these kind of things, and everything looked good except for my blood work, which came back, and I was actually quite severely deficient in vitamin D, which I have heard, there's different sources online that says slightly different things, but generally a lot of them said if you're deficient in vitamin D, you're just not gonna get pregnant. Chances of getting pregnant are extremely low. And for, I think, at least 5 months of us trying, I was severely deficient in vitamin D. So that might be why we didn't conceive immediately. I started to take these really high quality ones that my mom got me. Let me show you which ones they are. These are the ones that my mom gave me. I don't know if it's a Danish brand, but the packaging is in Danish. They are packed in cold pressed olive oil. You have to take vitamin D with fat or else they just won't be absorbed. So that's why I love these ones. It's 38, whatever that means. So it's quite high. And to be honest, I've continued to take this every single day. I've done my blood as recently as 2 weeks ago, and my numbers are perfect. And so I'm just gonna continue to take this. If I were to tell you what I think was the reason why we got pregnant, I think it's the vitamin D, to be honest. I think it's the vitamin D. This is an extremely relevant question. Will you be showing your children on camera or covering their faces? This is a very sensitive topic, and I think it's an incredible important topic to have. Jake and I have talked about it on multiple occasions, even before we even decided to trying to get pregnant. I am more concerned about this than Jake is. Jake is more yeah, of course we should show our kids faces. But we have eventually decided on, yes, we will be showing our kids' faces, we'll not be blurring them, but we will be incredibly selective about what we post, obviously. Although I really want to give a realistic view over how motherhood is, I'm going to be talking about the difficult parts verbally. I will not be filming them, both for my own mental health, but then also for the sake of our child in the future. In any situation where the child is uncomfortable, they will not have a camera on them. That's just, of course. I also will not be stuffing a camera in my kids' faces. They won't be the centerpiece of the channel. My channel has always been about me. So the child will be there in the video. Forgive me for keeping this channel to myself, but this channel is about me, and it's going to be about motherhood and not family life. It won't be a family vlogging channel. It'll still be similar to what I did before, just me in a new role as then being a mom. Will you be breastfeeding your little baby? Yes, that's the plan. I would like to exclusively breastfeed, but you never know how that's gonna go. As anything that I'm going to say about how I will do things as a mom, it can change. I'm a first-time mom. I don't know these things. All of these things that I'm saying is just an idea that I have in my head, and ideal for me right now, but that can change. So yes, I will try to exclusively breastfeed. Do you feel like you'll mourn your pre-mother/father identity? I don't think either of us will, to be honest. Our identity is still the same. We've just gotten an extra label added onto it. Our lifestyles will change, our life will change a lot, that's for sure. But we also are very much agreeing on how we would like to raise our child, and whereas in Korea especially, but then also as I've heard in the US, for example, you raise kids and then, you know, what you do is very kid-centered. But how life is in Europe is you just do what you normally did and you bring the kid with you. So for as much as possible, that's what we plan to do. That's what we both want to do. That's both what we both want to like live our life as. I don't really stay out until late. I don't go clubbing. I don't do all of these things. I've had all of those phases of my life years ago, and I have been past that for a very long time. But yeah, again, who knows? Do you already have some name ideas? And I remember some other people asked about like, will the name be Danish, Korean, English, so on. So yes, we already have a long list of names. Actually, funnily enough, we're very sure of our female name. Like if it's going to be a girl, we know what she's going to be called. With a boy, we've been back and forth a lot, and we have like a couple of top contestants, but I think we're still open to getting new suggestions. So if you have any suggestions that will follow this theme that I'm about to tell you, then please do comment them down below. Ideally, the name should be Nordic, Scandinavian. Some of the names we've found are not Nordic and Scandinavian, but they are Western. Neither of us want a traditional Korean name, to be honest, and we also don't want to give our names, like our kids, two names. I feel like there is already enough confusion being like, you know, of two different nationalities identity-wise, that we don't want to confuse that further with different names. So the rule is it has to be a Western/Nordic Scandinavian name that in Korean sounds very, very similar, if not identical, to the Danish pronunciation, not the English, the Danish pronunciation. That counts for English names as well. And in Korean, it has to have only 2 syllables. Some names in Danish are only 1 syllable, and then in Korean they will be 2. Like, syllables are very different in the 2 different languages, right? So already now we have very, very limited options. Also, the reason why they have to sound identical or very, very similar in the different languages is because we don't want to call our child a different name, obviously. When I call the child in Danish, Jake should be able to call them the exact same name in Korean, and it just works, you know what I mean? I will be on TikTok sharing a couple of videos of those like, here are like names that I like but wouldn't be using, blah blah blah. Like those are kind of trending and kind of funny to watch. But I think I'll do that once we know what the gender is. Now, I feel like we should move into the whole process and conversation around labor and delivery, and specifically delivery here in Korea, because this question is asking, will you be giving birth in Korea or in Denmark? And we will be giving birth in Korea. Are you worried about going into labor and giving birth? Absolutely not. I'm not worried at all. Like when it comes to pain and that kind of thing, the thing that I'm worried about is that the doctors won't follow my birth plan and that I'll be put into scenarios that isn't ideal to me. Also, I'm worried if I will get a C-section. I plan on delivering naturally, so of course if anything is wrong, I'm more than happy to get a C-section, but the idea of it scares me so much. And then like it's little stupid things that scares me, like getting an IV in my hand. Like that scares me more than labor pain does. And I think it's because like there is a point to labor pain, like contractions and the pain of giving birth. There is a point to it, right? You haven't just like, I don't know, knocked your foot into the side of the table here and that pain makes no sense and it comes suddenly and you're not expecting it and all of these things. And I think that's why I don't fear the pain of delivery. I'm actually quite excited to see how it is. Yeah. Do you plan to do a Korean 21 experience? So 21 is the Korean postpartum care center. I bet you've heard about it before. When I first heard about these postpartum care centers, I thought it was the most amazing thing ever and that I would no doubt do that if I were to ever give birth in Korea. And I am definitely not doing that, because when I really feel deep down in my body, the idea of not going home after giving birth to your comfort zone and getting into a rhythm with your baby, that seems very uncomfortable to me. The thing is, with most of the postpartum care centers, you're there alone with the baby. The father is not there, which that to me scares me as well. Like, the bonding to the father is so incredibly important in the first couple of weeks, and it would just seem in my head kind of weird being there and then Jake wouldn't be there. Another thing is that the postpartum care center is focused heavily around your healing and not the introduction of a baby into the world. So if I were to go a little bit deeper in conversation in that, you can request the baby to be in your room at all times, but how most Korean women do it here is the baby is actually not in your room. The baby is in a kind of like a kindergarten situation where they're being taken care of by nurses, and then they're going to be wheeled into your room twice a day where you can breastfeed it, which twice a day, like I plan on breastfeeding my baby at every feed, which is like every 1.5 to 3 hours. So that's also another thing that's a bit mind-boggling to me. And then they'll teach you how to breastfeed and such, and those are great aspects, but just the fact that like that's the standard practices of these birth like centers, it's just, no, I just want to go home and start with all the bonding. Someone asked, what is the labor process in Korea? Is it the same in Europe, or can you give birth at home? I don't even think home birth is a thing here in Korea. I actually don't think it is. I've never heard them mention it as a possibility, but I wasn't interested in that either way. The thing is, with Korea, normally people give birth in a hospital, and the most normal way to give birth here in Korea is by C-section, and C-section in Europe is only something that is really given to you if you're high risk or if there is any issues in the process of labor and delivery. In Korea, and this is not my words, this is the words of my current doctor. In Korea, women, and I think it's far majority of women, I believe she said 60% or something, choose to schedule a C-section pretty much immediately, even though they have a perfectly healthy, normal pregnancy, because they don't want to experience the quote-unquote trauma of birth. And already there, it should tell you a little bit about what the mindset around birth is. I mentioned in the beginning of the video that Korea is the least natural birthing place ever, and that explains it quite well. Like, people are very scared of the process here, and like, my experience is that Korean women generally don't really trust their body, and they're not very in tune with their body when it comes to birth. That's what currently pregnant Korean friends have told me, and also previously pregnant Korean friends have told me, and as well as my doctor. Another reason why they choose to go with C-section, and this actually shocked me, and it's a little bit sad if you ask me. My doctor told me that a lot of women choose to go with the C-section because they want to keep being tight down there. And she said, which is obviously to please their husbands. Yeah, I thought that was quite sad. Obviously, there is nothing wrong with any approach to birth. You should absolutely do what you're feeling most comfortable with. Anything that I'm saying right now is pretty much only just because I'm viewing life through my own lenses, right? So keep that in mind when you listen to what I say. There's nothing wrong with these things. It's just that it shocked me, and it's certainly a big culture shock to me. And it's directly affecting options given to me for birth here, which is why it shocks me even more and it makes me very sad. Another thing that is very, very, very different here in Korea is, for example, when the baby is born, in Europe at least, it's very normal. First thing that happens, baby goes up to your chest for skin to skin. That's the first thing. You don't wipe the baby off first, you put it back up there and you get to see your baby. You get to just feel that special moment. In Korea, that's not how they do it. My doctor told me, and also one of my really good friends who's currently pregnant, who has been visiting a lot of hospitals, this is all the same thing that the hospitals have been telling her, they will wipe the baby down first, which has some complications when it comes to skin, because that grease that's on the baby is protecting the skin. So already there's a problem. And then if they will even put it on the mother, they'll put it on the belly, because their general experience is that people don't want all that grease on them. Okay, fair enough, but I'm just imagining this from the point of view of the baby, where they've been 9 months inside the mom's belly, and it must be so scary coming out and then not immediately having that familiar feel. I don't know, that's just my thought process. When my friend went to the hospital and she told me about what they said, because also then they take your baby away for 3 days, and they say that that's a COVID thing, but they've done that before that as well. And then they will just like in the post-care centers, they will like roll in the baby to you twice a day or however much a day, but the baby will not be with you. When I heard that, I started crying because I got so scared in that moment that that would be the standard, that that would be something that I would be forced into, which makes me extremely sad for my baby, makes me extremely sad for myself, and for Jake. Yeah, I'm getting sad, I'm sorry, but it's just, there seems to be a lot of focus on your physical health here in Korea when it comes to the birth and labor delivery process. Not any on mental health, and not any on that bonding experience, both with mom and dad. I don't know, I'm speechless. Okay, can you/will you pick a hospital/birth center that meets your needs? So after hearing all of these scary things, in my opinion, I got very scared that I couldn't find a hospital that met my needs, and that's true. There's no hospital that meets my needs, but there are birthing centers that meets my needs. So actually this coming week we have 2 appointments, one with a birthing center called Home, and then another one with a birthing center called Nature. Both of these are natural birthing centers that speaks English, that accommodates what you want to do. I'm visiting them both and I'm very excited to see. It sounds like they can accommodate a much more natural birthing style, a much more European approach, and lots of foreigners are giving birth there from what I can read online, and have had positive experiences, where contra foreigners who have been giving birth in normal Korean hospitals generally have a terrible experience. You can Google that yourself and see what people are saying, but you mentioned you don't want to have an epidural when you give birth. Can I ask why? So yes, there are a couple of reasons why I don't really want an epidural. An epidural, like obviously I would want the epidural on standby, because if I sit in the moment, I'm like, you know what, give it to me. I'm not opposed to getting it. You should really just Google the risks associated with getting the epidural, because there are quite a few. Some of them are nerve damage, being literally paralyzed. Those are the immediate effects, and then you have other things that are really affecting your ability to give birth. There are many more risks of complications when you get the epidural. Lots of other things that can happen that you then need further intervention with, which I would like to stay as far away from interventions as possible. Obviously, if needed, we will get interventions, of course. The most important thing is that we have a healthy baby. Something like being able to freely move around during birth, being able to choose exactly which birthing position that I would like to be in, because I would ideally like to not tear during birth, which means giving birth on your back is the worst way to give birth. Also just gravity and everything, like it makes no sense that so many people give birth on their back. So I would like to be able to switch positions comfortably, and you're pretty numb down there. Like you can't really move around much when you have the epidural. Some people can move around more than others, but generally not. So I would just like the freedom of that. Then I would like the freedom to be able to feel if something is wrong, exactly when I have the need to push, all of these different things. Like there are a lot of reasons why I would like to not have the epidural, but who knows what I'm gonna end up with. I've seen many people say the same things and then they just can't handle it, but yeah, I will prepare my birthing preparations for a non-epidural birth. Yeah. Will you have a doula for your birth? So yes, I really want to hire a doula. I know that Home, the birth clinic, they offer a doula for you, so they already have doulas on call as well as midwives. And then I think Nature only has midwives, and then you hire a doula like separately, but I would love to look into that. It would be nice to have someone there with me like that. Will you run all the tests for disability of that kind? And yeah, we've already run all of the tests basically. We got the big round of tests, which I wasn't planning on, but in the moment when the doctor asked us if we just wanted them all, Jake said yes immediately, and I was like, fair enough. They only need to do it via blood, and they needed to take my blood either way, so I was like, okay. Didn't realize it was that expensive though, but it certainly was. Yeah. Anyways, we got the results back. Everything is fine. There are no abnormalities, which is great. We're very happy about that. Okay. I have gotten so many more questions than that, but I think a lot of them were covered in these answers that I gave here. I hope it was interesting, and if you have any more questions, leave them down below. I'll try to answer them down there. And yeah, thank you so much for following along. I'm just so excited for this whole journey, and now that I'm finally feeling better, I'm just excited to get back out into Seoul and filming and like just let me know what kind of pregnancy content you would like to see as well. And let me know if you think we're having a boy or a girl, because I'm very curious what you think. I'll see you again next week, guys. Bye bye.